Hello. Hi. Thank you guys very much for coming to our panel. We're gonna get started. The screen is really small for like how far back the seats go. So if anyone would like to move up, there's lots of room towards the front. We'll just maybe have to ask people to scooch in one. Just so that you can see better. It's up to you. You can do whatever you want. Oops, I clicked something with my sleeve.
I gotcha.
Sorry, don't look yet. So thank you guys so much for coming. This panel is about Gijinkas, just so you know you're in the right place. But even if you're not, you should just stay because you're already here. So my name is Jetty Lupe. I am a cosplayer. And I like Gijinkas. And so I'm visually impaired myself. I'm partially blind. So I usually like to describe what I'm wearing in case if there's anyone else in the crowd. So I'm just going to do that really quick. And I'm going to let the other judges introduce themselves and also tell you what they're wearing. So I am wearing a Sylveon Gijinka. This one was designed by Mochaberry. So I have a pink wig with pink ears and like a gigantic pink and silver and white bow, along with a white and pink outfit. So that's what I'm wearing. And I'm going to have something go next. Yes. And I'm going to have Sunset Dragon go next.
Hi, I'm Sunset Dragon. I'm wearing a Gijinka. This is a deep cut, so get ready. Of Plumpy from Candyland, but as a D&D druid. I have a green wig with like fuzzy ears and plums on my head, and a leather leaf piece and chest piece, and like fuzzy green arms. And green lips, because.
And you're also a designer.
And I designed it myself.
All right. I'm Lady Cells. Hi. I am wearing a design by a Japanese illustrator. I'm going to butcher her name, Yuri Karuka. She did, I think it was Little Witch Academia. She did an art book of a bunch of designs, and this is the Year of the Tiger. It is not the Year of the Tiger. But it's cute and I enjoy it. It's a red dress with like a kimono top. There is, and I will get up later to show, a lot of hand-done silk embroidery through the whole thing, and a big bouncy fuzzy tail.
Do you want to show it now?
Oh, do we want to show off?
Okay.
Well, come show off.
Well, we're just gonna. Also, my Sylveon skirt is like 7 pounds, so I have to just. Sorry.
Yeah, I'll get your seat.
And they put yellow lines on the stairs, which is great. So anyone that's ever running anything, please make it
Feel that breeze from that stair.
Obnoxious. Always be obnoxious when you can.
Big bouncy tail.
All right, so you'll notice we'll have a lot of images on these slides, and we'll always have the character next to the image to help kind of visualize what's going on. All right, so here are my personal cosplay rules. Everybody is a cosplay body. Yes, you can. If I could do it, you could do it. You can cosplay who you want to cosplay, even if it's a character from a game that some of us played as children. You should still cosplay it because it's really cool. This is my dad's favorite character. He's going to freak out when he sees this.
No one knows who I am. It's great.
And make or buy, who cares if you're having fun? Every cosplay is a valid cosplay. and be respectful of each other, and cosplay is not consent. So all of the images that we're going to show, we are going to show images of other cosplayers. We have gotten all of their permission to share these. My sleeve, and I'm Italian, so all right. So what is a Gijinka? It's the art of designing a human form of a creature character. Gijinka comes from a Japanese word meaning humanoid. It's also been known as moe anthropomorphism. And if you guys have heard moe, it's kind of like a lot of the maid cafes will use it as like a, oh, this is so cute kind of thing. And so the Gijinkas kind of started as putting cat ears on like maids back in like the early days of the internet. And then we've gotten this far, so we've come a long way. I just need to breathe for a second. That walk took the shit out of me.
It's a lot of weight to walk in.
And so the creatures may be animals, they could be objects, they could be like a car maybe. That's gonna be me later today as a car Gijinka, so.
An abstract concept.
Yeah. So.
Anything your heart desires.
So the whole point is that it's like something that's not a human. It's like something that's a creature. So Gijinkas versus other costumes, a regular character generally already kind of has an outfit or a design that you can kind of just make that. Versus with Gijinkas, you have to kind of build them from the ground up to figure out how you're going to represent that character in something that you can physically put on your body. They can be kind of challenging to come up with your own design, and so that's part of what this panel is about, to help you brainstorm and kind of get some inspiration and some tips on like where you can start. There are a lot less tutorials out there for Gijinkas because I just sound like I'm crying, but I promise I'm not. You can when it comes to tutorials, you can sometimes find like an ear tutorial or something, but it's really hard to find someone that says like, here's how to make a Sylvian cosplay. There's really not a tutorial out there because there's so many different ways to do it. So again, another reason why it makes it a little bit more challenging. Versus for like a regular like Sailor Moon outfit, you can usually find a lot of tutorials for that. So just to kind of give an idea of the difference there. And I love Gijinkas because you really get to express yourself and make it as sparkly as you want if that's your thing, or as furry as you want if that's your thing. And so I think that it's just super fun. And so this is Lady Cells.
Yes, so this is me. I did a version of Meryl as a kind of maid outfit. And for some fun bits, I found the pattern from, I believe it was 2002 Halloween The Calls collection of this Pokemon. This is the official licensed pattern. So you can see there's many different ways to interpret this character that are different from their official. So.
And the official one too, it's kind of more of like a literal, like take Meryl's body and put it on your body. But what's fun about it is that you can make something that's like you wanted to make a maid dress, and so there you go. Now we've taken the same thing but made it something, a whole different type of outfit.
Yep, versus the original, which is literally a beanbag.
So, a panel just for Gijinkas, why would we do that? Well, obviously you guys all care, so that's why we're doing it. But the biggest thing is that you're going to learn some helpful tips for coming up with your own designs, or some helpful tips on where you can find some other designs or some other inspiration from all of the different people that we're going to feature here. And again, you'll see on all these slides, there's some of us, there's some of all of our talented friends. We have the character next to it so you can see what they're cosplaying as well as their information. And it's a unique type of cosplay where you really get to express yourself, and there's no right or wrong way to do it. And it's really fun to see people do. I saw that there was another Sylvian that came in here, so like that's an example of us doing the same character. Not to call you out, but completely different stories that we're telling. So that's also part of kind of why we want to do this panel. And so some of the cosplayers have also submitted little blurbs talking about like how they came up with this idea. And so we will be reading those as well. Just again, if you can't see it, then, you know.
So I will be doing most of the readings. I will try to do them nice and slow and dramatic. We will see. I was inspired by boxing and pro wrestling attire for this. The idea started with parodying the Everlast boxing gear logo as Knuckles' name, and then I decided to make a bunch of appliques related to Sonic, the games.
So you can see they have like the ring appliques like on their pants, you know, 'cause Sonic does the rings. You know what I'm saying? So. Also, I apologize. I speak so fast, and Lady Sos reminded me that I need to not speak so fast, so I apologize.
Yeah, we didn't do full intros in there, but I work professionally as a teacher, so I'm used to pacing a little bit. Now I'll poke you.
Yeah, no, that's fine. I have like, I swear to God, I have like 2 different people in my brain at the same time, like both going 100 miles an hour, and they're fighting each other at the same time, so that's...
Inside you, there are 2 Sylveons, would you say?
This is my 21st Sylveon cosplay, so there's many Sylveons in there. So, if you don't even know where to start, you're in luck, because we came up with a little like checklist, step-by-step guide. I got a lot of inspiration for this step-by-step guide from Joe Cat, who's a YouTuber. He made a video years ago about how to design a Pokemon, and this was his list, and his video was like, it really gave me the thought of like, I think this is kind of similar to what I go through when I'm coming up with a Gijinka design. And I also got permission from him to do this. He thinks this is such a cool concept for a panel, and he's really cool, so. So this is my version of that. So step 1, pick a character. Hopefully it's one that you like, because cosplay is time and money, and so you just have a lot more fun when it's something you actually like. Step 2, decide on a color scheme based on its colors or elements. Also try to think of how much of that color is on this character. So, you know, if the character is mostly green with a little bit of purple, you're gonna be mostly green with a little bit of purple. Step 3, you have to make a human-shaped outfit because you're a human, so you have to put it on your human body. Then pick 1 to 3 elements that are really distinct to that character. So something that really, really sticks out that you're like, okay, this character has this specific thing going for it. This is how you know, like, this is totally that character. So that's something else. We'll have a lot of examples too. And then number 5, add your own touch. You do you. So it kind of makes it fun, because at the end, like, for me, I'm like, I would like to add a lot of sparkles where it probably doesn't need it, but that's like my personal thing that I like to do.
So I guess my personal touch is I like to go hog wild with details. I will spend hundreds of hours on something I probably could have just screen printed.
Yep.
What was same brain cell?
What I like to do when I'm designing different Gijinkas, whether for myself or just for the general populace, is I like to kind of pair them with a theme, and I know you do this a lot too, and I think we might have a slide talking about it further on. But so like you did a maid Azumarill, but you could also do like a D&D or a warrior Azumarill. You could do a fairy Azumarill. Like I like to pair it with a theme, and that kind of helps me also visualize what I'm going to put into the design and do research for that too.
All right, so we're gonna go through 2 examples. We're gonna design one together. So let's take King K. Rool. Okay, I met this cosplayer a couple years ago at MAGFest, and this is still one of my favorite examples. So this is King K. Rool, and so it doesn't have to be Pokemon, and you've already seen several other fandoms, so, because everyone always thinks Pokemon, but it can be other things. So King K. Rool, he's mostly green. He's definitely got a lot of gold on him too, so let's try to do a lot of green and gold. And he's got a little bit of red with his red cape, so let's put a little bit of red in there. So I'm a human. I think I want to make a suit, because I think a suit would be super, super cool, and I could put it on my human body. And maybe like a really fancy like dress shirt, and maybe we can make that gold, because, you know, it's kind of King K. Rool, like his chest area is gold. So what are the things that really make King K. Rool King K. Rool? Well, he's a king, so let's make sure we include a crown. He also has a cape, and I think between the crown and the cape, it's very obvious that he's a king. So let's try to make sure we can include that. Let's talk about step 5, which is adding your own touch. So, since he's a crocodile, what if we use crocodile-themed fabric? And because he's got that little gem, wouldn't it be fun, like if he had a little staff? Because a king, you know, kings walk around with little staffs. And then you have the cosplay. And then we're gonna do one more, completely different thing. What if we wanted it to be a PlayStation controller? I told you it didn't have to be an animal. So here's the main color scheme of this PlayStation controller. So it's mostly blue with some black, a little bit of like silver and white. Let's make a kimono, because I really want to make a kimono. Wouldn't that be fun? All right, what are the biggest parts of this? So you have the controller. What's on the controller? You have all the little symbols. You have the little joystick things. You have the D-pad. You know, I don't know what these words are. And so we should try to include all that, because that would make it obviously a PlayStation controller. And so here's Mithril.
All right, so Mithril had a quote for us. I looked at my PlayStation 2 controller and thought it looked like a kimono with sleeves. I made this outfit with a black-blue color-shifting silk and glow-in-the-dark paints. The thumbsticks on my head are EVA foam, and my shoes light up with the PlayStation symbol cutouts.
All right, so here's some examples of going through each of the steps. So step 1 is cosplay a character you love. Cosplay is time and money. You'll be surprised how many people will still recognize you, even if it's something that, you know, a Pokemon or a character or a Candyland character. And who cares if they don't, because you look awesome and you're having fun. So I put an example of Altaria and Tapu Lele here because I feel like they're kind of forgotten about Pokemon. So, but both of us have gotten a lot of love for these cosplays. So that's great. I'm glad people remember who they are. So step 2 is deciding on a color scheme and trying to kind of keep the most prevalent colors, the most prevalent color also in your cosplay. So what are the main colors of the character, and try to proportion those colors based on how prominent it is. So this is Gumi and Tangela.
And Danny, who did Gumi, gave us a quote. This is a Gumi design I sketched in 2019-ish. And then I revisited and finalized it this year for a Poke Dragons collab group. Wait, Gumi's a dragon?
Yes. Yes.
Gumi's a dragon.
Can't you tell?
Eventually.
Fair enough.
One thing I'll add to this is when you're thinking about colors in your design, it's a really good idea to place those colors on your design roughly where they fall on your Pokemon or your creature. Like Sylveon has white legs with pink paws. You could wear pink gloves and pink shoes and obviously hair pink. So it's a good idea to coordinate where they land on your object, your creature, with your actual costume.
All right. So the next step is choosing a type of outfit for your human body. What kind of outfit would this character wear if they were real? Or what kind of an outfit would this character wear for the story you're trying to tell? As we were talking about before, there's so many different stories you can tell. If you want to be a knight, you'd wear a knight outfit. If you want to be a magical girl, you'd wear a magical girl outfit. And then you can also think, like, what kind of an outfit do I want to wear? So we have Alana here, who is cosplaying Mabel from Animal Crossing, who is an actual, like, seamstress, designer, clothing shop owner. And so
I made this during early COVID lockdown as a creative outlet, using only supplies I already had on hand, which is, side note, really resourceful. My own clothes, spare fabric, and some green paint. Sometimes a simple approach like this can be just as effective as a more elaborate Gijinka, as long as you're able to easily convey the character. And we have another quote too. From Focus, and I am sorry if you were here and I butcher your name. This is the first of a planned series of historical evolutions. The jacquard design, along with skirt hem, is meant to invoke the circles on Umbreon's form, and the moon shapes call back to Umbreon's nighttime associations.
So then this next slide is about picking 2 to 3 elements that are really distinct to your character, that when you look at that person cosplaying, you'd be like, you can kind of put 2 and 2 together and be like, ah, yes. So does this character have a prop? Is there a prop you'd like to include for the story that you're trying to tell? what element can you add that really clearly shows that it's that character? So in the case of the Ranger Eevee, because Rangers usually use a bow, and that's the story that this cosplayer wanted to tell, he went and made a bow. And then for Colleen, for the Egg Boy, she went in, she actually included a scrambled or a sunny side up egg on her wheelchair because it really conveyed, I'm an egg. And so I think we have quotes for that.
Yep. So for our Eevee here, when I design props for my Pokemon Gijinka cosplays, I always try adding a major element of the Pokemon into the prop itself. For example, I added fur to the bow to match Eevee's fur collar. And then for Colleen, I wanted to incorporate my wheelchair somewhere into the Egg Boy design, so I made fried egg covers for my wheelchair. This is also something that would make people think eggs, even if they weren't familiar with the source media. And actually, that's another important part where sometimes maybe people don't pick up on exactly what you're cosplaying, but they see something and they recognize a motif. And that's really cool to them, and that might make them really enjoy what you're doing and come over and be like, that's really cool. I don't know what it is, but it's cool. So.
If you're a really big D&D nerd and you see someone clearly dressed as a ranger, even if you're not a Pokemon fan, you're going to be like, that's a cool cosplay. Or I want to see more about that, or I want you to tell me how'd you come up with this design, or, it's just fun. It's just fun. It's fun for you. It's fun for other people. Mm-hmm. I like to look at everybody's cosplays. Those of you that I'm close with know I love to get up close and look at all the details in your cosplays because you're all awesome. And then then you can make it your own. So do you have a signature makeup style? Do you always like to use sparkly fabrics? That's me. Is there a particular kind of fabric you think would work really well for this particular design? Is there a technique or skill you really want to try to showcase, or maybe a new skill or fabric that you want to try to use? I think we have a quote from Rihanna here, and actually this design is actually one of Sunset's designs.
Do you want me to read it, or you want to read it?
I can't quite see
I can, but I love the design from Sunset Dragon, and was in a wonderful group with Jetty Loop. Making the armor and the sword was such a fun challenge. Working with foam and Wearable is one of my favorite things to do, especially when doing Pokemon Gijinkas.
Yeah. And then something that Danny always does in her designs is she goes over the top with including all these crazy elements. And I know it's going to be really hard to see, but her outfit actually says Absol on it in the unknown font. So
That's cool.
Okay, so if you're not good at concept or art or creating the designs, you've gone through all of these steps and you're like, you know what, I still can't figure it out. That's okay, because there's a bunch of people that are really, really talented designers that have already designed a bunch of Gijinkas. And many of them are open to you cosplaying their designs, but always check with them or check their page to see if they're open to that. So some of the well-known designers that we're going to mention here are Mochaberry, Desi Dezu, Cowslip, No Flutter, Sunset Dragon. And you can also commission artists to create a concept for you, which I also think is really great. And definitely we make sure that you have good communication with the designer. If you are going to commission someone to make you a design, talk to them about, I'm really comfortable with these kind of fabrics. I'm personally really bad with armor. I hate armor. So if I wanted somebody to design something for me, I'd say, please, no armor, or very little amounts of armor, or something that I can fake with the fabric. Just think about your character. What would they be like in real life?
Into the mic. You weren't talking.
Oh, I'm sorry. You're good. And Sunset Dragon is going to talk a little bit about her process.
Hi.
So
It happens.
I'm a professionally trained illustrator, so it might be a little different. But I tend to borrow from how I was taught, which is more the traditional concept art principles, how they do it in video games. So I think if you have a general idea of what you want to do, I generally go, and once that's solidified, I will do some research. So Pinterest is great. Other cosplayers are great. Just don't steal from them directly. You have to take that as inspiration. I'll steal from you all the time. You're the secret to everything.
Don't believe that, Mike.
use it as a jumping off point to get inspired to then have your ideas flowing. I like to just, you can make a mood board of like what general themes you want. It could just be colors, vibes, like, and then I tend to sketch out a couple designs so that I make sure I'm getting the best idea, because normally your first idea is not the best idea. And that sucks, but that was driven into me in school, and I have to admit that it's true. So I would do a couple iterations. If you can't draw, you can even like smash together photos like they do in those outfit layout things that are trendy. You can get creative. You can make paper dolls. You can do whatever is at your disposal and your skill level. And I also like to pull in, if I'm making a costume for myself, designing it for myself, I will pull in the fabrics specifically and have them up on my screen or wherever I'm drawing, or have a swatch to pull those colors and those textures directly, so I'm thinking about everything at once. I think that's good, right?
Thank you. We got to peek a little bit into the master's brain, so. So here are some more design tips. So closet cosplays can be a great way to make a Gijinka, because everyone has different skill levels and budgets, experience, backgrounds, what they have access to. So I really like closet cosplays too. During the pandemic, I did so many closet cosplays. It's so fun. Not every costume needs to be a big armor build or cost a lot of money. Sometimes a quick pair of ears and some clothes from your closet can make a super great look. And so I think we have a quote.
We do. My favorite evolution is Glaceon. So I joined a cheerleading Eevee group where we each had to do matching cheer outfits that fit the color scheme of our Eevees.
So you can see for this Glaceon cosplayer specifically, like Sunset Dragon was saying, kind of keeping the colors where they are on the Pokemon. She has the blue wig, which Glaceon would probably have blue hair. It kind of looks like she has blue hair. So it's just like an example there. I also made us all little Pokeball pin. This was my group. A lot of these people I drag into these groups with me. We even made little Pokeball pins to put on the skirts so that it was another kind of nod to we're clearly a Pokemon, and then they see the ears and they're like, ah, yes, Glaceon. So. And then Durf is cosplaying from Pokemon Unite, which is actually an online game.
MOBA.
A MOBA, yes, that's what it's called. You can also commission someone to make your dream costumes. There are also several like Etsy and other sellers that make Gijinka costumes too. So Mash on him on the top here wanted to do Shiny Blossom, and so he found someone that he communicated really well with as to exactly what he was looking for, and so they were able to make this cosplay for him. Desi here, QMA Cosplay, she bought this from someone that makes these kimonos. I'm on the bottom here, and I actually got that, I think off of Amazon. So another thing is, again, you don't have to make everything from scratch. There are people out there that have already made these. It doesn't have to be a big, crazy cosplay. Just have fun. Just do whatever you want to do to have fun. Another thing that you can kind of think about when you are designing or making your cosplay is think about the types of materials you want to use. Can you design it in a way to mimic some of the creature's form? Maybe carrying a plush around with you of that creature character can sometimes help you be more recognizable. So we have another quote.
Yep, so this is from Callaway Cosplay. When we saw Kit
That's me.
post this outfit, which was originally meant to be Sakura dressed in a Kiro-themed outfit, we knew it would be perfect. All I had to do was pick a wig, and suddenly I could be my favorite character, the snarky, head-empty, magical cat companion. I love the silhouette of this cosplay. It's so playful and fun. We used micro suede as the main yellow fabric as a nod to the fur.
So for the example there especially is that they use that micro suede to kind of mimic the silky fur that the character would have. So something kind of fun that you can think about when you're making these. And then this cosplayer used a material that they really like to use, which they love to crochet. So that goes back to thinking about what kind of materials do you like to use, what kind of materials do you want to use. And when we talk about mimicking a part of the creature, they made the legs to look more like the hoofs. And we have another quote.
Yep, I chose Rainbow Dash because I knew I could crochet her stylized wings and ears. I chose bell bottoms to signify how horses' hooves flare at the base. and I included her cutie mark in a prominent location for easy identification. I designed the cardigan to directly represent her sonic rainboom ability enveloping her body.
Yeah, using shapes is one of the ways that I like to also convey a character's form. Like Toothless from How to Train Your Dragon has these really weird but adorable legs that kind of go out. So in a lot of my drawings, I will make like balloon sleeves on the bottom that kind of mimic that leg shape, or leg warmers on the legs to also mimic that leg shape. So you can kind of keep little things like that in mind if you want to further convey like the shape of your character. Or like a lot of Pokemon like Piplup and Psyduck have like big butts. So I like to do like little bloomers or poof it out, so it kind of gives you also a similar like round bottom shape.
And I can add to that, that can be a great tip for cosplaying for different body shapes too. Adding volume is a great tool because it's harder to take stuff in, but it's really fun to add volume places. So when I cosplay, I know my silhouette, I'm a bigger person, so I can add a lot of flair to big skirts and change how the proportions look on me. And I find that really fun to be able to play with those shapes. Adding is good.
Okay, so now if there is a design out there that you like, feel free to change it up a bit to make it more towards your comfort level, like we just talked about cosplaying for your body.
Yep, sorry, I got ahead.
Yeah, no, you're good. Because a lot of times you'll notice as we go through these, you'll see each of these cosplayers, they kind of like went through these steps and everything kind of keeps tying back to itself. So I know I feel like touching on similar things, but there's like, it's a big circle of thought, I feel like. And so this Vaporeon cosplayer has a quote.
I modified the design to cover the stomach and arms to match my comfort level of modesty. The ruffled bottom was made of tiers of handmade ruffled organza in varying blues to mimic the silhouette of a mermaid, tail, and ocean colors. And
this was also designed by Sunset Dragon.
Yeah, I often get messages from cosplayers like freaking out if they think they're going to change one of my designs, and I tell them, at least for me, I can't speak for other designers, but I view my stuff as an inspiration. It's your costume. You're spending hundreds of hours, hundreds of dollars to make this potentially. Like, you can take that and make it however you want. I still appreciate you telling people that it was inspired by me, but like, you are absolutely free to, like that Kiro cosplayer changed it from Sakura wig to a Kiro wig. Like, that's great. Like, adding panels or adjusting it to fit your proportions and your comfort level. Like, I say, please do that.
And then something I just want to point out on the Brightwing fairy dragon cosplayer, she actually made a small version of the Brightwing to put on her staff. And we talked about maybe carrying a plush around with you. And I mean, she went over and beyond and made a whole figurine of it to put on her staff. So again, even if you're looking at her cosplay and you're like, that's a really cool armor design, I don't really know the character, but you can kind of see like the character and be like, oh wow, I can see how you took that character and made it into this outfit. So I really like mashups. So mashing up with another fandom is a really fun way to start with a design that kind of already exists and changing the colors out to match whatever character you're trying to cosplay. I love doing this, and my car Gijinka later is a Miku / Cars from Pixar, so like it's another mashup. That'll be on here next time I present this. So the Evolution group on the bottom, we did the Start Dash outfits from Love Live, which you can see on the top left there. So we took those outfits and then we looked at the Evolutions and we changed out the colors to match the colors of the Eevees. We added the ears. We actually did oh, you were in the group. Sorry, I forgot you were there. We did a really, really fun performance where we actually performed Start Dash, but we actually rewrote and recorded the song to tell the story of the Eevees. And then Sailor Moon, everybody knows Sailor Moon. Those are really, really iconic outfits, and it's another thing that is really easy to transform to another character. And so that's what this Glaceon cosplayer did here. Took the basic silhouette of a Sailor Moon outfit and then changed out the colors to match Glaceon.
As someone who
The idea for Dragon Ball Z Evolutions just popped into my head, and that's all
Yeah.
you need. I'm done.
I'm glad that you got some inspiration.
It's not actually going to happen.
In your personal
Someone else.
sketchbook. Yeah.
Dragon Ball Z Eevees.
Another thing that I really like as well is looking at merch. And I know that we pointed to that Pokemon Unite cosplayer earlier who took a design from Pokemon Unite and made it into a cosplay. I think that finding merch and making that into a cosplay is another good way if you're struggling to figure out your own design, to look at something that already exists and kind of make it, again, something that you can put on your body. So when I saw that Winter Sylveon, I knew that was going to happen 100%. And then we have another quote.
Well, it's not really a quote. It's just the Hakama Pikachu Pokemon merch is the Gijinka is 1-to-1 on the doll costume Pokemon. So it's a great reference.
Cosplay with friends. It can be really fun to do a group. Gathering ideas from different group members or creating a fluid idea. It's really great. As a group, it may be easier to recognize your characters, and you may feel more comfortable in a group as well. And if you are going to do a group cosplay, make sure that everyone in your group, you're communicating with them, that you know everyone's budget and their access to different types of fabrics or machines, as well as what fabrics or style is everyone comfortable wearing. Really good communication, and you'll have an amazing group. And
Yeah, I'm in the lower image there with Lady Akari, who's up here in the front, who is cosplaying with me again as matching costumes. I also want to point out that that's a cookie. That's a cookie, and it's a Gijinka now. So, ideas really can come from anywhere.
oops, sorry. Did I skip? No, we're good.
Nope, you're good.
So how the heck do you cosplay that? You've got to get creative, and sometimes it can be really difficult to think how you'll turn a creature into a human. So again, we've shown things that are not just creatures. We've shown inanimate objects and stuff. So we have Wailord here.
Yep, I did a whale. It's a design by Ellie Marie. Yeah.
Ellie Marie.
Is it Allie Marie?
Ellie Marie, yeah.
Allie Marie. I always, numbers.
There is a 3 in there.
Yeah. She did a Victorian style bustle dress. And then I had a lot of fun with the hat. There is a Wailord plushie in that hat. So that was another way to kind of harken back to that design. But I'm a whale. It was a lot of fun.
Something that's interesting about that design too is using the bustle to create a larger silhouette because it's a whale.
Yep. The bustle itself is actually meant to mimic a whale tail. So rather than just take the Pokemon at its face, there are layers in the skirt that make you feel like it's a whale tail about to flip off. So.
Flip off in a good way.
Yes. Yes.
And then the Cosmog cosplayer, they did like a galaxy makeup as well to really tell the story of Cosmog being like a space creature. And then this other cosplayer is a creature from Kirby, and I forget what the creature is, but this...
Could you repeat that a little louder?
It's a Star Dream from Planet
Star
Robot.
Dream, yeah.
Thank you.
Evil computer, you space.
Awesome. So it's an evil computer.
And so this cosplayer put a tiny version of it on their head, and it's another one of those, they looked at where are these parts on the little creature, and so the part that's on the middle of the creature is on the middle of their body, so it's a really good example of kind of following all these different steps and tips we've been giving. What if I imagine the character differently from someone else? The beauty of Gijinka is that you get to bring the character to life how you imagine them. Everyone comes from different backgrounds and experiences, and everyone will have a different way of seeing a character. There's no wrong way to create your design. No one can tell you how to see a character. No one else is you. So, in this example, we're both Tinkaton cosplayers. And so when you look at Tinkaton, you are kind of like, what is the main things of Tinkaton? And her hammer. So we both have Tinkaton's hammer, but we both have really different silhouettes and different kinds of outfits, but it's clear that we're both Tinkaton, just with a different story that we're trying to tell.
Plus, you get to do the Spider-Man meme.
Yeah. So this is another example of same character, different story. This is 4 of my 21 Sylveons. And so the first 2 actually designed by Sunset Dragon. But all 4 of them tell a completely different story. You have a knight, a fairy, a sorcerer, and then the last one is actually mashed up with Ruby Rose from Ruby. So that's kind of a throwback. But they're all very clearly Sylveon, but all are telling a very different story. And another thing that's kind of fun that you can do when you're making cosplays or recycling cosplays is I actually used a lot of the same things for each of these. So on Knight and Sorcerer, it's the same little shoe decals.
You're good.
Ooh, my sleeve. I think I used the same wig for Knight and Fairy. And the bow that's on my Sorcerer skirt is actually on the back of my head on both the Knight and the Fairy. So anyway, it's fun to... and actually the cape from my Ruby is the same cape that I'm wearing in the Sorcerer, so...
Are you wearing the same ears in the first 3?
Yes. Because...
And my neck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because why would I make... Anyway... Oh, you think I have 21 different Sylveon ears in my house? I have about 5, but... Oh, no, you're totally okay. You're totally cool. Yeah, I mean, well, so for the ears, so I don't attach any of the bows. So you can see I have like different styles going on the top for all of these. And so they're all kind of like separate pieces that I put so that I can recycle the same ears and not have to keep making ears.
I'll just add, like, this really showcases that why I love Gijinka cosplays, and like 90% of my personal cosplays are Gijinka cosplays. You can do whatever you want. You can combine the things that you love the most and just become that thing. It's great.
So now we will open up to questions. So if you have a question, please raise your hand. I will not be calling on anyone because I can't see anything. I'm going to have Lady Cells call on someone. If you could please loudly state your question, that would be fantastic.
And I'll try my best to repeat your question so we can hear up here too, and everyone can hear.
Wow, you guys know everything. So
Don't rush. Not everyone rush. Yes.
How do you store everything?
So the question is, how do you store everything? So I can do this because she's seen my storage recently. I have 2 mobile closets in my basement, and I vacuum seal things up. I also use totes from Home Depot that you can stack for armor, so I can put things together. But on a more practical side, I do a lot of designing so things can come apart and package flat. So for example, if I have a prop, I try to put screw connections along the way so I can take it apart and break it down into something smaller that can get packed away.
For me, I have a big closet, and for wigs, I actually use a over-the-door shoe organizer, and then I label each of the little pockets with which characters that wig goes with. I just throw them back in the wig bag, and I know that's bad, but that's what I do, and I'll just restyle it every time. And then also for anything where there's like a lot of like little accessories like this bow, and I have like weird socks on and stuff, those will all go in a baggie together and it will be labeled, and then I put those baggies of all the little accessories in a tote so that I know where everything is. It's all in one place.
It's a constant struggle that I deal with personally. I pretty much do those tips, but it still gets out of hand sometimes. So I recommend periodically getting rid of things that you don't need anymore, or preferably breaking them down to use them in your next costume if you don't think you're going to wear it again.
Yep. It's one of the advantages. I know hot glue tends to be a cosplayer's best friend. It is not a sustainable cosplayer's best friend because it's sometimes really hard to take things apart to use them in other places. So whenever I can, I try to hand stitch or stitch things on in a way that I can remove it later, and then I can swap things out, and it's really handy.
Okay. Do we have any other?
Yes.
How do you get the perfect wig colors?
How do you get the perfect wig color? Oh no.
So I know we don't like Amazon. Well, okay, I love Amazon. I'm disabled. I can't drive, and it's hard for me to get places to get supplies. So I do use Amazon a lot. I know that we have a lot of opinions on that, but what's also great is that you can return stuff pretty easily on Amazon. So I do sit and go through a lot of research trying to find exactly as close as I can to either what the design is showing or similar to whatever color scheme I want to go with. And then if it's the wrong thing, which happens sometimes, can always return it and order a new one. And again, I know we have feelings about that, but as a disabled person, that's really for me, that's good. I don't know how you guys do your wigs.
If you have Amazon has a lot of options now that they did not have 10 years ago, which is great. But us elder cosplayers, we know. Did you know you can dye wigs with RIT synthetic dye? Use a dye for dye only pot. Do not cook food in this. You can't really see it, but I gradient dyed the bottom of my wig to be more green.
You can see it in your bangs.
So you can make custom colors all you want. Just buy a light colored wig. Do a test strand. Go from there.
Yep.
Yes.
And to add to that, always make sure you wear PPE because I taught dye work. The dye will get in, if it touches your skin, it will come into your body. It will sit in your liver for the rest of your life. It will build up over time, and I've known many master dyers who've ended up with liver cancer. So make sure you wear gloves and a proper mask respirator when working with dye, especially powdered dyes. But another thing is, other than dyeing, is Gijinkas have a lot of flexibility. So if you get a pink wig and it's not the perfect shade, that can be okay. It can still work for the design for the character. You have that freedom a little bit more sometimes than, say, an anime or a video game character because you have that creative freedom. So a lot of times, like, I'll get a wig and maybe it's not the perfect color. It's fine. I'll wear it anyway for that character.
One other thing, I'm so sorry. One other thing is for Fairy and Knight, I actually bought a couple different wefts. I think it's like they use it for, I think, like braiding hair maybe. And I've used that a few times to help with like the ombre because I personally hate dyeing wigs, but it is a good option.
Yeah.
We had another tip from cosplayer.
Yep,
Oh,
alcohol ink. Be careful with that because it will wear off over time. You're not actually saturating the polyester strands, so it does come off. It just takes more time. Polyester, I teach dye work. It is very hard to penetrate and change because polyester is just extruded plastic. So most of the time, RIT dye more actually does change the chemical composition of it a little bit. It's unique that way, which is great. But most other dyes are just coating. So they will coat the strand, and just like glues, they will eventually wear off over time. It will last you a weekend, but be careful when storing it.
Because I tried the acrylic and alcohol method on these sad bangs here to get black, and it melts.
Yeah. I'm just, one second, we're gonna get to your, I'm just gonna repeat this so everyone in the back can hear. A cosplayer here in the front tried the alcohol and pen technique. Alcohol pen,
Oh no, acrylic ink.
acrylic ink. And it came out twice. So yeah, and again, every wig fiber is different. Some actually have a little bit more of a rough surface and will hold that dye a little bit more than others that are smooth. So test everything first. Yes.
Do you have a preferred brand of wig or like a good way to get wigs? And then also, how do you properly shape your wigs? I've never worked with wigs before.
Okay, so the question on wigs, we're turning a little bit into wigtail, is do we have a preferred brand of wig and how do we shape and form that wig, essentially? Okay.
I don't have a preferred brand. It's kind of like I said earlier, whatever I can find, but I've started to use heat tools, like a really thin straightener on a low setting, and every wig is different. I personally hate wig styling, so I try to avoid doing that as much as I can. But yeah, like a small straightener. I know a lot of people will crimp their whole wigs too with a crimper, and then they comb back through it, and it gives a lot of volume, and then they'll straighten on top of that. But heat tools, but look up tutorials.
Thank you.
So when you're crimping, you're adjusting the texture. So again, that is a way to make Things like alcohol ink stick a little bit better because you're changing and you're getting it a little rougher. It can also change the shine on a wig. A crimping tool is a great way to make a cheap wig look better. So I do that a lot with Amazon wigs. I used to love Arta. Arta's had some issues in recent years. There's a couple other brands, Epic Cosplay, Pose Wigs. A lot of times now, we kind of, I would guess, we've come over the golden age of cosplay wigs, when I first started out, we had Party City for wigs. We had Party City, we had tinsel wigs, we had not a whole lot of selection.
Figure-y.
Or if you went into, really fancy theatrical productions, wigs that were lace front and hand ventilated. When Arta came onto the scene, they kind of revolutionized things. So they kind of revolutionized the scene, and then they struggled because they did too many styles too quickly and too many colors and couldn't maintain it for the long and short of it. But a couple other small companies have popped up, and because now a lot of wig companies specialize in the fewer styles, there's lots more options. But it does take a little bit more hunting. And again, if you don't have the time or resources and it's difficult to hunt, Amazon did start getting a lot of third company sellers who do make decent wigs. So, and I think we had one more question. Oh, we have two more questions, so we're gonna try really quick.
We have time for one more question, but I know I can stay outside of the panel room after this to answer any other questions. I also think that there is like a 30-minute buffer between us and the next panel, but I don't want to go over our time too much.
Yeah, I'll stay around as well as people have additional questions.
Let's grab one of the questions. I can't see.
Yes. The two of you are right next to each other, so who had their hand up first?
Fight it out. No, I'm just kidding.
Rock, paper, scissors.
The guy had that first. But.
Have any of you entered your Gijinka designs into a craftsmanship contest or a masquerade? And if so, how does that work out with reference photos?
So I can.
Hold on, let me repeat the question so
I'm
everyone
sorry.
can hear.
You're right.
Yep, no worries. The question is, have any of us ever entered a Gijinka design in a masquerade or craftsmanship contest, and how did that work out?
So almost all of my masquerade, I think every time I've done a masquerade, it's been a Gijinka. So step one, read the rules of the cosplay contest for that convention. Some will not allow Gijinkas at all because sometimes it's hard to have a good reference. Some will allow you to use an original design or designed by someone else. But I find it's really like hit or miss, so check the rules first. When it comes to something that I designed myself, I will bring my very extremely rough sketch, as well as maybe the plushie, and just really talk through how I came up with what I'm wearing. Also with masquerades, that brings in a whole other thing of designing a costume to look good on the stage as well, which can change how you're gonna make the cosplay. But then there are some contests that will say things like, if it's a design by a well-known designer, sorry, I didn't mean to hit you. But I entered a cottagecore Leafeon design that Sunset Dragon had made into a masquerade. And so they allowed me to bring a reference photo from Sunset Dragon. They know you really well anyway, so they were like, oh, it's a Sunset Dragon design. So in that case, but that in their rules, it said that was fine. Some of them will let you do the performance part of it, but not the craftsmanship part, so it really depends. Some of them won't let you do it at all. But in my experience, I've done original designs as well as other people's designs, and I just look at the rules, and if it's my design, I just try to really talk out what was going through my brain when we were making that design. So I hope that answers that question. But really, you have to be careful and read the rules.
Yeah. If you have any questions at all or something's unclear, message the coordinator. Every contest, that's their job. Their job is to be there to answer those questions. And again, it depends a lot on the contest. Like World Cosplay Summit, you need to do something that's official or published. And that can get an interesting line because I know Hannah Alexander, for example, has books published with her art. I was able to get into a contest because that was a published art of a design. It was a design she did of a She-Ra. So there's a line blurred there. There's also comes into, say, you're doing a Pokemon Gijinka. Those would be probably easier to do at an anime con where they limit the material to Japanese origin only. Versus if you try to do, something from an American cartoon or a cookie. That's not a Japanese source material, so you run into that. But again, your best bet is just email the coordinator, say, this is what I'm planning on doing, would it be appropriate in your contest, and provide as much information as you can.
All right, so what I know, at least Lady Cells and I know you got a lot of stuff because you're a fancy guest, but we can at least stand outside the room to answer any other questions just so that we can clear this space for the next group. If you had come in a little later, we do have cosplay cards as well as stickers up here. If you would like any of that, you're free to grab that, and then we'll be waiting outside in a couple minutes if anyone has any other questions. And thank you guys so much for taking time out of your convention. And you can actually rate this in the guidebook app, but only rate it if you're going to give us a good rating. If not, then just tell me to my face, and then no one else has to know, and I'll just live with that forever. But if you did enjoy it, you can actually rate it. And I think when they do like feedback after the con, you can be like, wow, that Gijinka panel, best panel ever. You guys should have it every year. In fact, it should be the whole con. But thank you guys so much.
Yep. And again, if you missed it at the beginning, I have cat stickers of my literal cat if you would like one.
Yeah, we got all different kinds of stuff up here.
Yes.